Find dy dx, secant of xy equals 8. Okay? So your first thought here is tangent, because the derivative of tangent is secant squared of x. But that's really not going to help us here. But like intuitively, that's where your mind's going to go. Try not to get too caught up in that. If this was an integral and you saw secant squared, you'd be like, oh, tangent of x. And that would be correct. Both reasonable and correct. But in this case, no. And when you're doing derivatives, I find it almost quite often easier to do everything in cosines and sines. So we're going to do implicit differentiation. So I'm going to start by writing this out. Instead of doing cosine of xy on the bottom, I'm going to say 1 equals cosine of 8xy. It just helps keep things simpler in my mind. So this is going to be the chain rule? Chain rule. So take the derivative of both sides. So with respect to x, we get 0. I'll say equals 1. There we go. That way I can put the 0 on the right side, where zeros belong. I don't know if they actually belong there or not. It just feels more correct. Okay, so we'll take the derivative of cosine of xy, which will be the sine of negative sine of xy. The derivative of cosine is negative sine. Now we need to take the derivative of the interior, so the derivative of xy. We're going to actually have to use the product rule for that. uv prime equals uv prime plus u prime v, where u will be x, v prime will be dy dx, u prime will be dx dx, which will just be 1, and v will be y. Yep, I'm good with that. So then we go here, and can we rewrite this? Oh, we need to solve for dy dx now. Okay, okay. And that equals 0. So we're going to expand this out a little bit. Negative 8 sine of xy times x dy dx. Okay, that's good. Plus negative 8 sine of xy. This is a little bit longer than I thought. This goes to 1 times y equals 0. So divide both sides by negative 8. Divide both sides by sine of xy. Yep. And one thing we'll have to kind of worry about then is x and y. X and y probably can't be 0. So, but we'll be fine with that here, I think. Maybe. We'll see. If something disastrous happens, we'll backtrack. Equals 0. So we have x dy dx plus y equals 0. Add a different color to show the change in thought process. So we have, now let's find dy dx. And that equals negative y divided by x. And that should be the answer, because we move the y over and then divide by x. Aha! Even a possible answer, which is good. Ooh, that actually looks like pretty quality writing there. They're a little bit slanted. Maybe it's moving really fast. So, right here. That'll be the answer. It's kind of interesting how the cosine secant kind of drops away. Interesting. Quite interesting. Okay. Negative y over x. Interesting. There's probably some like trigonometric thing going on there. Sorry. So SOHCAHTOA. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So we have hypotenuse over adjacent. Interesting. Okay. So not to dilly-dally too much on the extraneous. That is how we solve this problem. So we backtrack slightly. secant of xy equals 8. Rewrite things in terms of cosine because it's easier to see cosine and sine, especially when talking about derivatives, generally. And from there, you just use implicit differentiation, simplify things, and then cancel everything out that you can, and go from there. Excellent.